If you own Micron, AMD, Nvidia, Palantir, SoFi stock, or actually any stock in the stock market, you need to know this now. Hello, beautiful people. Shalom, moneymakers. We're going to talk about the stock market, everything that's happening this Monday morning, how futures are looking, what's happening between the US and China, and even a very interesting nugget towards the end of the video, and a sector that is heating up a little bit, literally. You'll understand that you're going to want to watch all the way to the end of the video. Now, all I ask from you, I'm a simple man, is that you give me a beautiful smile to send out those good vibes. Smishity smash that like button, because on Monday, likes are for free, and let's get into it. Please read the disclaimer. So right now, early morning, futures are down, right? S&P 500 futures are down. We are seeing that the market is pulling back a little bit, but it's not just the futures. Oil has popped up over $100 a barrel, currently sitting at 103 for crude oil, and Brent oil is sitting at 113. Silver is down a little bit, basically 0.5% here, and gold's up a little bit. But there are some headlines. There are the quick rundown of what's happening this week. Of course, it's a very important week, but we'll look at some individual stocks first, and then we'll get to all the headlines. Maybe we'll flip it up in the future, depending on what you guys like. Again, this is a new stock channel. We're going to be talking about stocks here and individual stocks and more of the broader market. So if you haven't yet subscribed, now's the time to do so. So the big juicy one, of course, the creme de la creme, the top dog, Nvidia, has earnings this week, Wednesday, the big crescendo. It will be very interesting to see what is going to happen. Friday, 4.4% pullback for a stock that is at 5.48 trillion market cap. It is very, very important. As you can see, we have previous earnings. Nvidia hit earnings each time a little bit above. Every single time was a little bit above. The question is going to be this time, the estimate is the 1.72 USD. Will it hit higher than expected in a significant way, or will it be on par or even a little bit below? And that could affect, of course, the whole stock market because of the massive rally that we have seen over the past few weeks. Earnings that is a little bit under what was expected or on par could bring down the price of Nvidia after creating new all-time highs, and could pull down the whole semiconductor AI kind of quote-unquote bubble down. Okay, so that's very, very important to note. And this is why this week is going to be so important to see what is going to happen with Nvidia earnings. Of course, the 10-year note, which we'll get to in just a second, is very important. We also have the Fed meeting minutes on Wednesday, the FOMC meeting minutes, that history has told us that it could affect what is happening with the stock market, so we need to take that into consideration. AMD also pulled back significantly, 5.69%. Like, these are not normal levels, but the stock market has been a lot more volatile. And so stocks that are 600, 700 billion, even trillion dollar market caps have been moving 5, 6, 7% intraday. And this is the new market that we live in. And there's always potentially opportunities to take advantage. You know that right now there's the most option contracts that are being traded in history, right? People after the pandemic started trading options more and more and more, and it's just grown to a significant amount. Furthermore, right now, when we have the stock market at all-time highs or even close to all-time highs, this brings in the possibility, the opportunities, and that's why we're seeing so many option traders. And that, of course, is also affecting the volatility, because the more options, the more those options need to be covered, and the more of those potential stocks are being bought and sold. And that's why we're seeing more and more volatility on these assets. As always, I just want to remind you that I don't know what individual stocks are going to do day to day. I don't know what the stock market also is going to do day to day. The president could say something, China could do something, Iran could, do something. So as always, just remember, not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence before you decide to invest. Okay, very, very important. We go back, we also have SoFi that we've been talking about. SoFi is very interesting situation right now. It could be potentially dropping down here. This is the support level. We'll see if SoFi can, maybe we have a double bottom. We've seen this in the past where we have a double bottom. Some call it a George Washington, a W, right? And then potentially we could see SoFi coming back. Furthermore, we have the 1348 EMA indicator, which I like to use. By the way, you can get access to that if you're interested. Let me know. And you can see a crossover here. Potentially there was one that didn't come a few weeks ago, and there was a drop off here. There's actually a gap, so there was a gap down. We'll see if SoFi can recover off of that. Micron, also similar, had been on an amazing run, pullback. Last 3 trading days of the week were not great here for Micron. As you can see, MU stock, Micron, and down 11% in the last 4 days. So again, these stocks that have gone on massive rallies pull back here, and it will be interesting to see with futures currently down. Again, maybe by the time you're watching this video, the market has flipped a little bit. We've seen many times Monday morning, futures are red, and then it flips to green. So that is a possibility as well. I do not think that the VIX trades right now this early in the morning. If I'm mistaken, is it trading right now? No trading right now. But we'll see what the VIX does. Does it pop over 20 this morning with the yields, which I will get to in just a second, popping over 4.5 and stabilize there? We did get multiple announcements here from the U.S.-China trade deal. So the White House announces multiple U.S.-China trade deals and developments following President Trump's meeting in China. The deal includes China will address U.S. concern regarding supply chain shortages related to rare earths and other critical minerals. This is one of the top things that people were concerned about regarding the rare earths. If you remember, about 6 months ago, a year ago, that was the big headline. It was affecting the markets. Because the U.S. needs rare earth metals, all the semiconductors need rare earth metals, and so this is very, very important. And so it seems that there's potentially a deal coming soon for that. China has approved the initial purchase of 200 American-made Boeing aircraft for Chinese airlines. Let's see what it says. We'll see what Boeing is going to do this morning after that headline. China this pre-market hasn't opened up now, so we can't see yet. There is overnight trading. You know what? I'll look at overnight trading on my phone for a second. So overnight trading, I just looked at my phone, nothing out of the ordinary. So it doesn't seem that the stock is being affected by this too much. China will purchase at least 17 billion per year U.S. agriculture products. So again, maybe stocks that have relevance to agriculture products could be on the rise. China has restored market access to U.S. beef by renewing expired listings of more than 400 U.S. beef facilities and adding new listing. And China has resumed imports of poultry from the U.S., determined by the USDA to be free of highly pathogenic avian influenza. President Xi will be visiting the White House this fall. So interesting deals that are coming out. The market isn't really reacting in a positive way to these headlines, but we'll see what happens. This we talked about already. Oil did actually pop up a little bit higher and pull back to 104. And here they're talking about Brent oil, right? So that was that 111 after Iranian drone attacks across the Gulf region. So again, we'll see how potentially oil could affect what happens with the new Fed, what happens with interest rates, and of course that could affect the market. And right now, right, the market is affected significantly by the 10-year bonds. As you can see, the bond market continues to rise. Sunday night, the US 10-note yield just casually hit 4.63%, the highest since February of 2025. We are now 4 basis points above the high that prompted President Trump's 90-day tariff pause in April of 2025. This puts the 10-year note up 70 basis points since the Iran war, with U.S. mortgages rate now nearing 7%. And in a sudden turn in events, the odds of rate cuts have collapsed to 2% only this year, and U.S. inflation is nearing 4%. The U.S. bond market is collapsing in real time. We talked about this in the previous video. If you haven't yet, again, subscribe to the channel. This is started a new channel, Moneymaker Stocks here. Actually, the first video did really good. Almost 5,000 views. So I appreciate you guys. So subscribe to the channel to get more of these stock updates. But we talked about in this video how every single time that the yields have popped over that 4.5%, we've seen Trump flip the switch. So we'll see if he's going to flip the switch in a good way or a bad way right now, because there's a situation where the AI and the semiconductor stocks are holding up the whole market, and the underlying, the floor is getting rotten, like it's a wooden rotten floor. And if the house gets too heavy, then we could see a collapse of the floor. So this is going to be very interesting to see how President Trump is going to, um, you know, deal with this, because he's a businessman, right? He is first and foremost a businessman, and he is going to be looking, okay, how can I do what I want to do without wrecking the US economy? One of the important things for him is that his legacy comes out where he made peace and he did all this, but he also was able to, create a strong US economy and try to fix some of the mistakes that were done in his previous presidency and in the President Biden's previous presidency. Now, there's a lot of controversy. He does good and bad. And so we'll see what will potentially happen here today and into the next coming weeks. And how, again, any single headline could affect what's happening in the stock market, like this Hormuz Safe Zone, the state-backed maritime insurance platform for vessels transmitting through the strait. And so potentially this could affect the markets if there's less uncertainty, right? When you have a situation where there's greed at 63, right? And you are not in extreme greed, but you're not in fear. So the market is looking what could potentially happen here in the in the stock market. And where we could potentially go from here. The less fear, the less potential of oil, the less going high, the less potential of inflation going out of control, the better for the stock market. Now, this is interesting. Claude, now prediction market trader, now as a prediction market trader with a success rate of 70%, in an open source framework reportedly posted a 68.4 success rate, far above the 50% baseline most markets revolve around. The key difference, it does not chase price action. It reads the question, gathers context, weighs evidence, checks base rates, and looks for mispriced odds on markets like Polymarket and Country. In other words, Claude is not trading charts, it's now trading probability. This could be very interesting, as we go forward in the stock market. How many people actually sit every single day and trade and research themselves, and how many people actually put up a AI agent to trade for them and just tweak with the parameters and tweak with the scope of research, what specific maybe companies or where you want to look. And I think that's going to be where we're going forward. Listen, back in the day, you needed to call in order to buy a stock, right? You need a broker. Oh, more back in the day, you need to buy a physical piece of the paper, right? You don't need to go down and get that physical piece of paper. Then, on the phone, then on the computer, then on our phone. All this has been the evolution of the stock market. We used to have multiple days until stocks would settle. Now it's T+1, and it's going to go to T+0. It's going to be instantaneously soon. So everything is changing in the stock market, and it will be very interesting to see how we can battle it. My dad told me the story of how he used to, back in the day, about 25, 30 years ago, he started day trading on the computer, right? But then suddenly the algos kicked in and it became 10 times more hard to day trade because of the algos, right? The graphs usually didn't move intraday the same way they move today, right? So I think that these AI agents will make it even harder for normal Joes to day trade because of the volatility of the potential movements, and they'll be more mechanical because of the AI, I think. Maybe they'll be more human. I don't know. This is interesting. Is solar the next hot trade, right? Just last week, Solar Edge, 50% up, recorded highest week close in 2 years. SEDG, right, is the ticker symbol. We got Enphase 45% to new 52-week high, NTX up 15%, and TAN, the solar ETF, 5% on the week, highest weekly close in nearly 3 years. What gives? Well, the market is waking up to the idea of solar as AI energy plays, right? Right now, a lot of people are looking at the infrastructure, right? Okay, memory, semiconductors, it's played out already. But now people are thinking, okay, maybe infrastructure, maybe alternative energy. How can we feed this behemoth, right, that is called AI? And there's a lot of things behind it, right? SolarEdge has been decimated. The price action there has been, terrible. They used to be, there was a lot of hype behind it, and I even knew a girl that worked there at the company, and it was already at 360 and dropped all the way down to 12, right? Because high interest rates affected people that were buying solar, and it just collapsed, right? But now, since 12, it's up about 6x, right? Almost since that low there, just a year ago. And many people are looking at Micron and SanDisk and all those stocks, but also stocks like SolarEdge have been on a crazy run over the past few months. So this is an interesting sector to watch. Again, maybe it comes up more, maybe it doesn't. But I think that infrastructure is going to be an area that many people, many investors will, not look at, right? And listen, Berkshire Hathaway now has record cash. Buffett is waiting, and he's potentially looking to see what can happen here. Maybe it's because of the Iran war that they are sitting on their hands, but they have done significantly good, right? One of the best investor in the world historically, he's done good. They have done significant returns over the past 50 years, and it will be very interesting to see what they do now, right? They're sitting on so much cash, but if they would have deployed that cash 6 months ago, they would have had was amazing gains. So it will be very interesting to see what Berkshire is going to do right now. They have $397 billion in cash, and most of them are actually in short-term US Treasury bills. What happens if they start selling those Treasury bills? So again, this is going to be a very interesting situation that happens over the next coming weeks and months, and we'll see how the stock market plays out. Again, if you haven't yet subscribed to the new channel, now's the time to do so, and smash the like button. If you're new to the Moneymaker universe, we like to drop 8 in the comment section for infinity and beyond, if that's where you want your portfolio to go to. So thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time. And like I always say, let's make a lot of money.